Oh, we're going. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Founder Fables, one of my favorite parts of the week. This is the time that we get to bring you an amazing, amazing show because we are going out to the entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs, the mom and pop shops, the little guys out there, and really connecting you to their passion and what they do. Because our goal here at Localtude is to really make small businesses accessible to you as consumers, because unfortunately they're not all the time. And there are some amazing, amazing, amazing entrepreneurs out there doing incredible things. And today we have a huge treat for you. We have Cathy Gasper on, who is better known as the Chakra Coach. And I'm going to introduce you to her now. And you guys get to check her out. Her website is below if you want to check out more about what she's doing. And hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, Cathy.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. And where are you coming to us from?
I live in Beaverton, Oregon, so I'm like neighbors with the headquarters for Nike's.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If
So
you've heard of that company.
I don't know that many people have. No, that's awesome. So for those of you who don't know Beaverton or even where their headquarters are, Portland, Oregon, yeah, we're all the way over on the West Coast and just below the tippy top state of Washington. And so welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Now you are known as the Chakra Coach. Yes?
Yep. It's kind of like the Property Brothers, where they remodel your home. I kind of remodel the emotions in your life that you've got kind of going on around you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I'm gonna ask you a really kind of, let's bring it back down to the core kind of question first, because there's gonna be a lot of people watching who go, and what's a chakra? So what's a chakra?
So so they look like a little wheel. They come from the word that means wheel, and they actually look like a party hat. I need to get a party hat on me. So the pointy part attaches to us, and then the wheel part extends out here. And they spin clockwise and counterclockwise. And they're an energy center. So they have two functions. And their first function, when they spin clockwise, they're drawing in fresh prana to support your physical body behind it. So prana is free to us. It comes from nature. It comes from the ground, the trees, the air, the sun. And then the second thing that they do in this function is they spin counterclockwise. They're releasing energy that your body no longer needs. So they're very similar to a lung, where we inhale oxygen, but we exhale out carbon dioxide. But they're more like an energetic lung. They're just working with energy.
Okay. That's a great description. And I understand there's more than one of these in your body.
Yes, yes. And then the second function that they have is they actually store your emotions. So emotions comes from the Latin word, which means energy in motion.
Oh, okay.
And I like to kind of ask people at this point, like if you were to close your eyes and think about the last time that you felt love, tell me where you can kind of feel it in your body.
I feel it here.
Right? In kind of the heart area. Mm-hmm. And it usually kind of feels warming and can expand out. Now close your eyes again and tell me the last time that you felt stress. And where do you feel that at in your body?
It's like a bubble.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of stress going on there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like fluctuating between my gut and up here.
Yep. Okay. So you have a little bit of anxiety kicked in with that one. So now we're going to do this last one. And this is just an exercise. Just close your eyes and think about the last time that you felt loss or sorrow. And where are you feeling that in your body?
Well, I'm not sure. I think that more kicks me in the gut than anything.
You said in
Yeah,
the butt?
in the gut.
In the gut? Okay. I was like, I haven't heard the butt before. Okay. So love comes in through the heart chakra, which is your portal for love. And then because the chakras spin clockwise, counterclockwise, kind of like a fan, because they're trying to draw in prana or release energy that we don't need, is pushing that emotion into the organ behind it. So you would probably feel it in that heart area. Stress is mostly found in the solar plexus. So if you rub your hands underneath your ribs and it's going to come to a point, this is where your solar plexus lives, right below the heart. And the solar plexus is really kind of responsible for that stomach area. We've got a lot of major organs around here. You know, your liver, your gallbladder, your spleen. But when it revs up, it's going to shoot up to your head with that anxiety. It's going to go up to that throat chakra and like that explosion up here. And sorrow, a loss, actually resides in the back heart chakra. So a lot of times people, if they go back to a time when they felt sorrow or loss, they will remember kind of feeling like hunched over or the weight of the world on your back. And the back heart chakra is responsible for your lungs. So you can also look back to a time during loss, you may have developed some sort of like a lung issue like bronchitis or pneumonia. So these emotions that are held in the chakra, but it's spinning, trying to draw in fresh prana, it pushes them into the organs behind it in your physical body. And that's how we get the feeling sensation from the emotions. So those are those two functions for a chakra. They draw in fresh prana, release things that we don't need, and they hold your emotions. So emotions are made up of energy. So they have to live, they reside in that energetic body, but they can be pushed in to the physical body by this motion.
Yeah, interesting. I guess that's the old idea of it's all in your head, right? Like you know, it's that energetic flow of things. That's really interesting. So what you do is you come in and help kind of clear some of those blocks, help that energy flow the way it's supposed to. Is that?
Yes. So because emotions are made up of energy, if you can think of them as more like a cloud versus like something that's so big and nasty and ugly, like when we look at clouds, you know, they move, they're fluid, they flow, they change. So because they're made up of energy, I go in with a stronger energy, kind of like a Windex, and then clean out the chakra, and then it opens it up so it can now draw in the fresh prana and release things that we don't need. So the organs behind it are now actually being fed. Because what happens when we have a lot of congestion in the chakras, like if we think of the solar plexus area that holds all this stress emotions, and most doctors will tell you that 80% of disease, sickness, and illness comes from stress and anxiety, because you have this chakra here that's responsible for a lot of major organs. If it gets jammed up and congested, it doesn't have the opportunity to draw in this fresh prana. So now we've cut off one of the major sources for the organs behind it where it receives energy from. So now you really have to rely on the diet for your body to get good energy. And if that's not up to par, if that's not premium, optimal, then we got to rely on movement, you know, because movement creates energy too.
Okay. Wow, this is, I mean, I think maybe the best description of chakras that I've ever heard. And I've, you know, all of these like, woo woo, you know, kind of like concepts that they're not really sure, especially with Western medicine, that, how do we tap into that? Is that too out there for me, or is it too Eastern, And so it gets a little daunting sometimes. But the way you're explaining it, it's just like, well, this is just how it is. This is just how the body works. Energy connects everything, right? In the world. We know that. So very, very cool. And so
We
how
are
I
living,
go ahead.
we're living in a sea of energy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I understand that you got into this because you woke up with vertigo one morning. So tell me that story. Like, how did you get into becoming the chakra coach?
Yeah, so I went through kind of a nasty divorce, and it was the same year, right before Christmas. I was like sitting in my house, looking around, completely at peace. Like things didn't work out the way that I thought they were going to work out, but I was at peace. Went to bed, and the next morning I woke up, which is always a sign for a life lesson. Like when you're at peace with one, it's kind of like your higher self is checking in. They're like, are you ready? Are you ready for the next layer of this? And
Yeah.
I said, yes. And I went to bed and I woke up with just noise in my head. And I was like, what is that? It was like, boom, 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 boom. And so I looked in the mirror. I thought I had had a stroke. I didn't know what was going on, but I could tell something was going on in my head. And I'm like, well, you're okay. So I went downstairs and made cereal. I was trying to eat my breakfast and I was just falling out of my chair. I couldn't hold myself up. So it took me about a week, and I went into a chiropractor who does like muscle testing because I thought that something was off with my blood sugar. I would notice that if I was eating, it was the sugar release would kind of sedate it. It just takes a little bit of sedation to help minimize that nerve that's flared up. Um, so I walked in and I'm like, I'm so dizzy, I can hear it in my head. And he looked at me, he's like, oh, you have vertigo. And I was like, what is that? I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And so he worked on me for a little bit with adjustments. And he said, if I can't help you, there's other things out there where they work with the inner ear. And I was still like so confused. I'm like, what is this? So I ended up going to my general doctor and other chiropractors and a dizzy doctor. And in the end, they diagnosed me with, is I don't know the correct term for it, but the short word is virus vertigo. It's similar to Bell's palsy. They believe they believe it's the same type of a virus, where due to the inflammation, it takes that cranial nerve out. And so, like, some people wake up where half their face is paralyzed, or some people wake up and they're just deaf. It takes out the hearing nerve, or some people wake up without their balance. It takes out your balance nerve.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit longer recovery than just typical loose crystals in your ear. And the only treatment that they really told me at the time was time and exercise. And I'm like, I really want to speed this up. So I started looking for alternative modalities to help heal me and speed up the process.
Yeah. Well, and so you found the chakra healing, and now I mean, you've been working with pain and working with
Mhm.
clients on pain for years and years and years.
Mhm.
And so now you work more kind of on releasing old traumas that have been kind of trapped in there for people. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the first modality that I stumbled on to was ear reflexology, and I study under Dr. Raphael Norgay. He's out of France. His father, Dr. Paul Norgay, is the man who discovered all these air points, and he's known in China as the grandfather of auricular therapy. So if you go to an acupuncturist and they put needles in your ears at all,
Mhm.
they're using the points that he had discovered.
Okay.
So I study under his son, and through that training and through the chain of command, they have developed a sister modality called auricular chromotherapy,
Mhm.
which is a big fancy word for ear and light work. And it's very gentle. I use light therapy on the ear points that correlate with the limbic system in the brain, because there's a reflex chart on your ear that correlates with every organ in your body. So the limbic system is an organ. And there's 3 parts in the limbic system that hold trauma. And through gentle light therapy, I release it
Okay.
at
Okay.
its root.
So this whole concept of light therapy, we're starting to see kind of pop up all over the place, at least here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know about the rest of the United States, but we're starting to see this idea of, I'm going to get all the terms wrong, but hyperbarics, is that correct? And, just kind of all of this idea that light and the energy connected to it can heal. So you're talking about actually releasing trauma through light? Explain how that works.
Yes. So I'm also a prana killer. That's another one of my modalities. And we do use different colors in the prana, which come from nature. We just pull them out for their specific, oh gosh, I'm missing the word for that. Oh gosh, I'm
That's
missing
okay.
the word for that.
Okay,
They have
so
specific techniques that's not even the right word, specific qualities that they're good at.
okay.
So where the trauma is stored in the brain, there is a certain color that helps release that grip onto the trauma. And what happens during clients in my session when this happens, they feel into the response. They need to have 3 things trigger: the memory, the emotional response, and then they connect into how it feels in their body, kind of like what we did when we were talking about, hey, where do you feel love at?
Mhm.
And as they're focusing on that, and I'm releasing it in the brain, because the brain is a processing center. We have energy, but the brain has to process it to create to spark for what the feeling is. So I'm working in the processing center that's holding on to that.
Mhm.
And they literally feel it lift up off of them. Kids are really cool how they talk about this, and it floats away.
Oh, wow.
So I just had a girl that I worked on, a client that I worked on a couple weeks ago that had some pain in her heart, fear of just loneliness. And she saw it break off in chunks and just fly away.
Oh, wow. So there's an actual visualization or an actual experience clients go through with this healing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Because
Okay.
I'm having them also focus on the, I need the event to fire because I need it to fire in the brain so I can release it.
So it's the brain's reaction to it that you're actually like needing for the connection to break, the trauma to dissipate.
Yep.
Wow. It's a different way of thinking about trauma, right? And I mean, Western medicine really focuses on either cover it up or
Dating.
work through it with counseling, which I think has become more commonplace in the recent years. Even counseling, used to be a kind of like taboo. Don't go talk to somebody. You're mentally
Yeah.
unstable, right? So now that we've broken through that, but now this is kind of like the next level. And you talk about you know the people that come to you are really those who have they've already done counseling, they've already done some work in those realms, they already kind of know that they have these things to heal, and they're still looking for help. That that
Yes.
hasn't been enough. They're still looking for more than just that talk therapy, but actually looking to turn the key to find peace with the past. And I love that phrase. um, can you actually get there? Can you actually
Oh,
get
yes.
to where that trauma is gone?
Yes. All the time. I
Okay.
see it all the time. I think I've had one client I've worked on 3 times and I haven't made the progress that I thought. So the technique, the auricular chromotherapy, has been shown through clinical studies to be 92 to 93% effective in the treatment of trauma, PTSD, and phobias. I find
So
that
then again, hold on. You said trauma, PTSD, and phobias.
mhm,
Oh wow. So it treats a lot of different things. Okay. Keep going.
yeah. I worked on a retired police officer who moved to
Wow.
Florida and had a fear of frogs.
Out of all of the things after being a police officer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he wasn't walking his dogs, so I work on phobias too. I share that story because I hope it's not triggering to people, to talk about the things that I work on.
Yeah.
But what were we saying before that?
Oh,
Oh,
just, is it really possible to unlearn
yes.
those traumas and those phobias?
Yeah, so I normally say it's 1 to 3 sessions for a trauma release for like whatever the situation is. I did have one client who took 5 sessions, but they had the most severe case of PTSD that I've ever seen. They were mute at the time, chronic shaking, severe back pain, couldn't walk to the mailbox, and daily migraines. So it took 5 sessions. But then it was really fun when they would come in the door. I remember it was after Halloween, and I opened up the door and they go, trick or treat. And they came and just started babbling away. And I was like, oh my gosh, because before we were like having to nod.
Right, right. And so is this, I hear, trauma and my brain goes, oh, no, I don't want to deal with that. Shove it into the back,
Right.
like, and anything that's going to heal it feels like more trauma than having to just shove it into the
Yeah.
background and deal with it. So in these therapies you do with all of the chakra work you do, is it traumatic to go through it? Like, am I going to end up, walking out just worse than I came in?
No, that's what's so different. And I think that's why people like shut it off in their brain
Right.
whenever, if you even say the word trauma, because they're just so used to their coping mechanism is of stuffing. So I'm going to stuff, stuff, stuff. But what happens as things slow down as we get older, the chakras spin slower and we don't have the opportunity to release things as much as we get older. So it just keeps building up, building up, building up. So you're just turning into a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
as we age, if we don't deal with these traumas. But it is a release. So I like to say to people, like, if you ever had a migraine, you're in like pain, you can't function, and then you do whatever you do, if you take an Excedrin or whatever, and you feel it like calm down, and then all of a sudden you can see and function again. That's what it feels like to release the trauma.
But it's
It's
not like an Excedrin where it comes back.
right. I have never, ever had a client ever leave my sessions triggered. The main thing that they say is, I feel calm or I feel peaceful, is a second runner up. And then I've had a couple others after that. But the main thing people say is, I feel calm, because when we release it, it's no longer messing with your basic body functions, which is the third part that the limbic system is responsible for. And that controls your stress, your anxiety, your blood pressure, the heart rate. So, and it's like a thermostat for your body. And what trauma happens when you feel that your life is in danger, or your life actually is in danger, then that gets off kilter. And by releasing the trauma, it allows the brain to reset those basic body functions. And I call it the exhale. You can feel it while you're taking your pulse. My hands are kind of busy during the session, so I'm not taking a pulse at the time. But I see my clients exhale, and I'm like, yes, got it. And then I'm like, what happened? What are you seeing? And they're like, it just floated off. And so not only can they see it, but I can also see their body going through the physical release of it. So it's
And
not there anymore.
is this something that only people in Beaverton can come and work with you on, or is this something that can be done virtually? I mean, is that even
Yep.
possible?
Yeah, I do it virtually. When I first started doing it, I think I tested 6 in person and 6 virtual, and I was getting the same response. So I'm like, all right, we're good to go. So I do it virtually too.
Oh, wow. So, okay, pause for a second, because you're sitting there telling me, and all of my viewers have this question on their brain right now. So
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me that it is possible to instead of going to a counselor once a week for the rest of my life, because that's what I'm going to need, or getting on antidepressants, or doing any
Oh.
of the things that, are traditionally done, you know, uh, there's all sorts of things I could name. But instead of doing all of that, I could come to you for 3 to 5 sessions and I'm okay then.
Per the trauma, yeah. I mean, life, we are an onion. So we're going to have other things come up. But say if it's like a loss or something scary happen, or I call it multiple layers of chaos, depending on how many layers go around the situation. If I can get down to that the root of it, then it breaks all the other things off,
Yeah.
because it's just the same pattern that gets repeated. So like if you have that trigger, like say, somebody walking up behind you, and so then you're always avoiding things, you just keep pushing it down, pushing it down. So if I can get back to what scared you that one time and release it, then imagine what your life would be like if you could go out shopping and not be spooked if somebody came up behind you. Yeah,
So
it's life changing.
how do you have to know that? Do you have to know what the root of the cause of the phobia or whatever it is you're healing? Like,
So
I have to come to you and say, okay, here's what happened, and I really want you to go break that up. Like, or do
mhm.
you have a way to dig down to that?
Yeah, because I'm working with the subconscious brain. So some things happen before you're consciously can remember it. Some things happen when you were inside your mother's womb, or some things are actually previous life. So when I'm working with the subconscious brain, I'm asking for it to take me to the root of this. And so that's how I get back to it. If it's children where it's a little bit harder for them to talk, then I have them draw me pictures. So we draw pictures before and after. And sometimes teenagers don't like to talk super much.
Yeah.
So I just kind of ask them to think about it, and I still can feel their response. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me what it is or what happened. I just, I need you to kind of think about what's bothering you right now, and then by their response I can tell if they're there or not, and then we go through the same process.
Wow.
So not everybody has to talk about it, or I don't have to know like what the
Yeah.
situation is, but I get down to the root of what scared them.
Mind blowing. Very, very interesting stuff. I mean, it's a whole different way of thinking about our lives. It's a whole different way of thinking about moving forward and breaking through all those things that hold us back. Now, can you do the same thing here with things that aren't necessarily traumas, but maybe mental blocks? Like, we talk to a ton of small business owners every day, and we hear a lot of challenges and things that they face, or things that they know they don't know how to get past and
Yeah.
achieve. And everybody's always out there looking for answers, looking for solutions, whether it's I don't know why I can't get this, or money, or customers, or whatever.
Mhm.
Or if you're talking to any number of different individuals, we have some mental blocks that aren't actually traumas, but we know
Right.
that there's stuff in our past and our history that's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. It's not really a trauma. It's just something that keeps us from finding our true potential. Is that
Yes.
something you can deal with the energy work? It seems to me that would be possible.
Yes, so you're going down two routes here. So with the trauma release, I had noticed that in 2 out of 10 of my clients, they were not having a trauma response. So a trauma response is very close to like an anxiety attack,
Mhm.
where you feel like you're gonna die, all this, everything goes crazy inside the system. The fire alarms go off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
um, Even though something had happened, they were not having that same response. And what I realized they were needing help on dealing with was a pattern. And I was given a new point through spirit. I found a new point on the ear. I've spoken with Dr. Noget about it, and he's confirmed that this is a new point. And a protocol from spirit for a pattern release. So that's different. And that would be like kind of like what you're explaining, like, hey, I always seem to pick this. Or when somebody says, I'm realizing as I'm going through my life, I'm repeating the same pattern over and over. So I can use an example, procrastination. It may not be triggering, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this anxiety attack, but it's annoying. And it slows you down and you feel ashamed about it, or it just blocks things from happening. So that would be a pattern release, or just a basic block, because all emotions and thoughts are stored in the mental body or the emotional body, are processed through that chakra to where the brain then has to process it to make it physical in the body. So I go for the root in the emotional body, which would be in the chakras, because your chakras hold your emotions. So then I come in with that energy cleaner.
The Windex. Yes. Uh-huh. And you can
Windex, squeegee.
change the pattern.
Break it up. And then with my clients, I teach them who they are so they stop identifying with who they are not. Because when we continue to tell ourselves these false narratives about ourselves, you first have to identify what it is before you can work with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just running in the background and you don't understand why you keep doing that.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, because you have to replace, if it's all energy, you have to replace it with something else. If you don't replace it, the old stuff flows back in, as I understand it.
Replace it with the truth of who you are.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I mean, I think this has really cleared up a lot for me, and I already feel like I knew a little something about it, but I feel right now like I knew nothing about it, and that's amazing. Makes me want to run and book sessions with you. So that's awesome. So
Cool.
how do people book sessions with you? Just as a, like, since we're on the topic here.
Yeah, just hop onto my website and you can book a discovery call. They're free. Right now they're 30 minutes. I think I need to up them to 45 minutes. And I do a complimentary chakra scan right now. That's all free. So I just read your energy, and I don't want to know anything about you. And then I kind of show you the energy patterns and tell you what I find. And I ask if this resonates with you, and I explain, what I do. And then we go from there if you would want to work with me. So it's all free.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And anybody anywhere can do that. They don't have to be in Oregon. Okay. So last question, because I'm a big lover of stones and their properties and all of the amazing things they can do for us and the energies they hold. And since you work with energy, you also work with energy infused jewelry. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you get into that?
Well, with my training with pranic healing, we use crystals because it amplifies the power of the energy. And so we just have a lot of training with crystals. And it was even before I was a pranic healer. I think I went to a full moon meditation, and the lady who was running it owns a crystal store. And so she was passing around. We all got like a rock from her store. And so mine was pink. And I can't remember what it is, but I was holding it and it just started like vibrating and shaking in my hand. And I was like, is everybody's rock vibrating? And they all looked at me like I was weird. And then I put it on like a heart point on my wrist, and I could just feel energy like shooting through my wrist. So at the time, I did have a client who, I forget what was it. There's another word for it, but she had multiple personalities, and she had switched on me in a session. And I was like, I think I need a little extra protection. So I went and got a bracelet. I made a bracelet for myself. I went into a store that's no longer open, and then I became a pranic healer and really started working with crystals. And I'm also a Reiki master. So I take my stones and consecrate them and infuse them with Reiki and make them with intention to help support your energetic body and any physical elements that you have going on.
Wow. And so you make this jewelry and
Yeah. And
Okay.
if you want like a custom piece of jewelry, you would just book a discovery call. And then I just scan your chakras and then recommend a certain stone for you. And then I would make it.
And then you infuse it with whatever energy is needed. And does it hang on to that energy? Does it keep that energy?
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting. My Reiki teacher made me a necklace one time and infused it with the Reiki symbols. And then I went to a very powerful full moon meditation, and another clairvoyant was there. And she said, "Ooh, I can see your Reiki symbols in your necklace." And I was like, "Oh, what? You can?" Because they got all energized during the full
Yes.
moon.
Okay.
So I was blown away by that. That was before I started making jewelry. So
Very
that's how
cool.
it works. It hangs on to the symbols, and I program them that they are recharged after they're used, so they
Oh,
continue
wow.
to
Okay. That's
extend
so
the
cool.
healing energy.
So many things you do, and it's all with energy. And
Mm.
I love this whole concept of healing through energy and connecting through energy and finding our true selves and coming back to who we're supposed to be all through energy, which is great. Okay, now I have to ask you, because when we were talking about who you are, you told me you believe, and this is just a fun little tidbit, you believe in unicorns and fairies. Really? Really believe in them? Like,
Yeah, full on. They're for real.
I love it. Okay. So have you ever seen a unicorn? In spirit or otherwise?
No, no, I wanted a unicorn for my spirit animal, but that isn't what I have.
Yeah, that's okay. I love that little tidbit. I think it really shows who you are. I've gotten the chance to really engage with you, and you're so knowledgeable, and all of that knowledge comes through as we're talking. But you have this fun, amazing, playful side to you as well, and I just had to throw that in there because that is part of who you are, and part of, I think, what attracts people to each other is those fun, real, goofy parts of ourselves. So fairies and unicorns, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today on Founder Fables. We're so glad to get a chance to talk to you and learn more about all that you do and you as the chakra coach. Is there anything we missed that we should throw in there?
Oh gosh, no, I think we did a really great job. That was a fun interview. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us. And we loved having you. And for those of you who are interested in working with this amazing chakra coach, her information is below on the ticker. Just go ahead and jump over to her website. Like she said, you can absolutely book a call with her free from anywhere, which is amazing and awesome. And excuse me. We hope to hear from you in the comments. So let us know you are watching and from where you are watching. Just drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time on Founder Fables. Talk to you soon. Ciao.